it was really good. The clinic, it's amazing what all went down. Kind of in a remote area. So the church was a good sized church. I think they said there was around 1,000 people that were there on a regular basis. It was pretty big. But guess where they were doing some surgeries? In the green room.
Of the church.
Yeah, of the church. Yeah, I walked in there and I saw they had, I mean, these doctors were serious. I was amazed at some of the things they were doing because I saw some videos and I'm like, man, they were cutting things out of people. You know, things that are not, what do you call it?
As long as it wasn't malignant, right? Or,
yeah.
Or spreading.
It was wild. I was like, what? And because the thing is, we were so busy there, you didn't have time to see everything that was going on. But there was, I think, 11 people that had cataracts removed from their eyes. There was people had ears. There's this one doctor, all she was doing is cleaning ears, and she was getting like bugs or flies out of, you know, people's ears. So there was a lot of natural assistant help, you know, which is awesome. And then there was a spiritual side, and I was more on the spiritual side, like in the tent, you know. And there was a lot of there's kind of like the main general language, but then there's also different tribes everywhere, and they all have their own language. And there really is a lack of the understanding of the word there. And I asked one of these guys, I'm like, and they don't even have the translation like the Bible in their language, in their tribal language. And I'm like, man, well, I was like, that is so important. But he did say in Kenya somewhere there's an organization working on it to where they'll soon have the word out in their language. But man, you would see it. You would see so much of the church mingled with witchcraft, like, and it all wasn't in protection.
They're told it protects them, yeah.
Yeah, I got pictures, man. Like in the tent, man, we were taking them off, and while people were coming in, like you would see it, they're wearing these little pouches. I mean, that's one of the things, and they say it's hyena hair in there, like what the witch doctors, Lord's put in there, but it could have been donkey hair, is what I'm thinking, because you saw donkeys everywhere. But anyhow, a number of the kids, and I mean, it was grown-ups too, they would have these pouches. And when they would get into the tent, you know, it was explained to them, you know, you can't mix light and darkness, you know. But that was the result of not having the word in their own language. Like it was so mingled back and forth. And yeah, it's something. And so I got pictures of it in the tent, you know, on a bench there, just all kinds of stuff from witchcraft, you know, that they were taking off. And the local people there, you know, they were much more in tune with it, you know, what it was and
they've
this
seen
and that.
it. Yeah.
And they were willing to, you know, when they were accepting Christ, but not just then. You know, when it was explained to them, yeah, they were taking it off, you know, hey, Jesus is your protection, you know, and his angels. But yeah, it's, man, the importance of the word, having it. And man, you would think that it's in all languages, but at the same time, it was in some languages, but at the same time, so many people can't read. So that was the other thing. Usually a lot of books are handed out at these clinics, but it wasn't this time because so many people don't know how to read. So that becomes a problem. So really the only thing they can do is hear the word, or for so many of them, they have to hear the word or be taught the word, you know, verbally, because they do not have it on their own, like to read it. And so, yeah, that can really cause a problem if you're not hearing it on a regular basis.
So tell what you said about, like, when they came through the clinic, because the ministry tent was the last place they went to, right? First they did everything else.
Yeah, well, no, they went to the pharmacy after that.
Okay.
So they went, so it was almost the last.
So while they're waiting for their medication or whatever, they go to the ministry tent, right? But you were saying about how by the time they made it to you, how so many of them were already just didn't even have to be. Because so
many of the doctors, not so many, they're believers and they know how to pray. And they would also pray with the people as they would see them. And I saw it a number of times. People's minds were made up by the time they got to the ministry tent. Like they were like, and I kept thinking about it, I was like, it's because of them. And
you didn't have to convince them.
And I told all the doctors when they were doing like what do you call it? And after the clinic debrief, I was like, man, you guys are so effective, you know, because I explained to them what I was seeing. Like it happened, like their minds were made up, like, man, because they're just being confronted with the gospel and with Christians, and then when they got to the tent, they're like, man, my mind's already made up.
Yeah.
I'm done with this religion and I'm taking yours, you know. But yeah, you saw that often.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, yeah, in Acts chapter 28, I thought about this. In Acts chapter 28, 5. And you know, we are the resuming church of the book of Acts. So what should every church look like? It should look like the book of Acts. What were they doing there? They were, you know, people were being saved. People were being born again. The gospel was being preached. They were being filled with the Holy Spirit. They were praying in tongues. They were going out and they were going about.
Signs and wonders following.
And it happened exactly what Jesus said, you know, as far as nothing by any means will hurt you. Jesus also said that in Luke 10:19, you know, where Jesus gave authority to cast out devils. And he said, nothing by any means will injure you. Well, that, you know, and you also see that in the book of Acts with Paul, when he was on this island. And then this, I mean, we can read it here, or like in verse 2 or 3. But when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fastened itself on his hand. When the natives saw the creature hanging from his hand, they began to say to one another, undoubtedly this man is a murderer, and though he has been saved from the sea, justice has not allowed him to live. However, he shook the creature off into the fire, and it suffered no harm. And that's how the church needs to look like. It doesn't matter where we are. And I mean, think about it. If you're called, just like the Lord has put in my heart, the Lord has said, not in my heart, but he has said it. He has told me a number of times, you're not stationary. You belong in the high seas. You belong out there, like out there. And so when you go, and if you're someone who goes, yeah, if you have not already, you have to settle that in your heart. And that's how the Lord put it in me, said it about Matthew 10:8. About cleansing the lepers. If you don't have it settled in your heart that you can touch the disease such as that, then you need to get it settled, because there is nothing that can harm you. I mean, Jesus didn't just kind of say some things. No, he said nothing by any means will harm you. So it's not a kind of gospel. It is the gospel. Yeah. But think about it. How important it is for people to be healed at home. You know, and I thank God, like, 6.5 years, I have not been sick, you know, haven't thrown up, haven't been sick. You know, there's, like I've said a few times, maybe had a little bit of a runny nose, scratchy nose, or whatever. But just staying healed, you know, and it's important that we stay healed. And if we're not healed, then get healed and stay healed. Stay that way. But often you hear people I have heard people, like, when you hear them talk, they're actually not in faith. Like, they actually fear viruses and things that are hidden.
And it does have so much to do with the way we speak as well, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so if we're constantly talking about even catching that thing that's going around, you know, then it kind of proves that you're not truly fully with your whole heart and faith about it.
Yeah, and I've been feeling so good for years now. It's like I haven't questioned the Lord, why am I not getting sick no more? And he has pointed out a few things. But also you hear it in people's voice. They're not aggressive, like, for example, asthma or like allergies you hear sometimes. And when you hear people talk about it, I can hear in their voice they're not aggressive about it. They don't hate it enough. You know, you got to resist that. Like, man, all of these things are from the curse, like allergies and asthma. Like, man, that should never be received for a second. And so think about it. Going somewhere where you could pick up something very easy, but then you don't. I just stay normal, just like when I'm at home, you know, nothing, just the same. Feel good. But anyhow, you hear it in people's voice, that
in their conversation.
Like almost accepting and receiving what they have, when you never should. You should never, even for a second, you know, be aggressive. Because, man, I know that's how I got healed a few times, by being aggressive.
Yeah. And it really...
When I should have had a surgery, I was aggressive. I'm like, if I'm not saved and I'm not healed either, I'm going to chunk this Bible out the door, you know. No, if I'm saved, then I'm healed. And I knew I was saved, but that's just how aggressive I was. And I never went to the doctor. I never looked into what they had to offer. And it was that my faith was, no, I'm healed. And after a year and a half, you know, pain getting worse and worse and worse in my leg, on the side of my knee, boom, I was healed.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of aggressiveness, it absolutely requires that you have to know what the will of God is.
Yeah,
and you have to be convinced through and through of what the will of God is, or else you can't be aggressive like that.
I mean, well, let's just talk about that surgery I should have had. So it was on the side of my knee. One day I went jogging because I've been a jogger all my life, and this was in 2010, I think it was. Yeah, 2010. And I took about 5 steps jogging, and on the side of my knee, pain hit me like crazy. And I know back in the day, I was not as healthy. I was dehydrated all the time. It was nuts how I didn't drink water. I would just get up after all night sleep and go run 5 miles. So there was natural
things you should have been doing.
things I should have been doing,
Yeah.
eating better and drinking, especially. It was me not drinking water. That was one of the biggest things. So for a year and a half, the side of my knee, it got worse and worse. And that's the thing. I never, and this is something that we have learned from others. Even Kenneth Hagin says, consider him, consider not. And people, you have to do according to what your faith, where your faith is at. But mine is man.
And God meets you where your faith is. Yeah.
So my faith was we're not going to go to the doctor, and,
well, he actually never told me about it. I never even knew about it.
I think maybe somewhere I did.
I don't remember that.
I didn't have to really exercise because I was working so physical, like working on corrals, working on fences. That's what I was doing. But the pain got worse and worse and worse on the side of my knee. Then I remember sometimes I'd be on a ranch and then a cow would run and I'd try to cut it off. Just a few little runs. And then it hurt, but it would go away as I'd walk and kind of warm it up. But it was crazy pain on the side of my knee. And then it got to the point where even when I was in bed, I had to watch out and get my leg out of the bag, watch out, and then warm it up, walk. And I could feel exactly the ligament or whatever, on the side of my knee. But then I had one morning we had a partner letter from Kenneth Copeland Ministries because we were a partner with them. And the partner letter was open and it said, and at the top he had hand wrote, be blessed, wise, and in good health. So I read it silently, but then the next day, it was on a Saturday, I saw it on the counter still open, but then I heard the Lord say it. Mm-hmm. So I walked up and I said it. I'm blessed, I'm wise, and now I'm in good health. And so it was the next day, somewhere in there, shortly after my brother-in-law, which they were going to a church in the country, and they had a big gym, and the youth was playing floor hockey. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you want to go watch them play floor hockey? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. I always wear boots. So there we were watching, but man, it didn't take long. One of the teams needed players. And I was so used to it. I'm healed. When they asked if I wanted to play, I'm like, bro, I just jumped right out onto the floor.
In your boots?
In my boots on the hard floor. And I hadn't ran in over a year and a half. And I got that hockey stick, and I'm telling you, I ran back and forth, and we won. We won, by the way. My face was so red because I hadn't played. But think about it. Faith without works is dead. If you believe something, you need to act on it.
Well, you will act on it if you believe it.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I just jumped out, and there was no pain inside of my knee, and and that was when I realized I had no pain, and I never did from that day forward. And that was in 2000, so that this was already until the next year, 2011. So I've never had pain since then on the side of my knee, ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that is that. Being aggressive, what do you believe? You got to believe.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. You've often said, fake it, don't make it.
Yeah,
and you can't fake believing, because the thing about it is, if you believe, you will act on what you believe. And so you can't pretend to believe something and then act on it, and then it didn't work. And you're like, well, that doesn't work. Well, you probably, if you really believe it, you will act on. We act on the things we believe. Mm-hmm. All of us do. We all do.
I told my family I'm going to Africa. I'm not going to go see Dad right now. Mm-hmm. That was my faith. I acted on it.
Yeah. And the faith has to be there. Mm-hmm. And the faith comes by hearing. Yeah. So the thing is, too, it doesn't look the same for God's not going to lead everybody exactly the same way or tell everybody the exact same thing. But whatever he tells you, that's where the faith can be, because faith comes by hearing his word. And so when you hear that word, the faith comes, and then you act on it.
So it wasn't 2020 when I began to hear that fake it, don't make it, fake it, don't make it. And that's when COVID came out. And at first I didn't know what he was talking about, but then it didn't take long. I'm like, oh yeah, fake it, don't make it, you know. And it did come about a lot of people who were going to church all the time, this and that. I mean, they were so afraid and full of fear and, you know, running sideways and backwards and upside down, you know, in fear of this virus. But then again, we never got sick, you know. We think maybe our daughter had it, maybe, you know, we're not sure.
Maybe some of us did.
If there was every year that I traveled, it was in 2020 as a sales rep, pulling a cattle trailer all over the states. So I traveled more that year than any other year. Didn't, you know, stayed fine. Matter of fact, what we have talked about doing is, and we give God the credit and the glory.
Yeah.
Because our son is 20 and he's never been to the hospital. He was born in the hospital, and when he went out the front door, he's never been back. Just staying healed. My daughter's 18. She's the same way. And they said, you know, they said some things about our daughter. Yeah, your daughter needs
Well, they said some things about almost all of them.
We're like, no, we're standing on the word.
Like, we don't receive that.
And they're fine. And our daughter's 18. She was born in the hospital. We walked out the front door, and she's never been back. And then Kenya's what?
She's almost 16.
She's almost 16. She was born in the hospital, went out the front door, and we've never been back to the hospital. And then Rayma, she's 12.
She's never been in the hospital?
She's never been in the hospital because she was born.
Yeah, at birth.
Yeah, so glory to God. And so one day we're going to take a tour and take our kids to the hospital because it's an area that they have really never seen.
Yeah.
So I give God the glory and the credit for that. But that's how it should be. We should stay healed. And if not, we need to examine ourselves. It's like I heard a guy say one time, who was it, Mike Murdoch? He said, if your belief system isn't working, then you need to change it. There's something, you know, there's something that you're doing or not doing. But it does work to stay whole. But anyhow, so that was the trip to Africa.
Yeah.
Yep. And part of it, and some of our testimonies.
All the things around it.
All the things around it. And it is good to stay healed, because if you're not healed and always sick, I mean, how effective are you? You know, when you're sick, you're not that effective.
Can't do as much.
You can't do as much. And to settle it in your heart that nothing can by any means harm you. And it's not that we stay stupid or ignorant. You know, you want to be led as far as when the Lord says do this and do this. And that's what we're always open to.
Yeah.
Like, well, Lord, we are open to this and this, and that's just how it has turned out for us. You know, we have faith in this, but Lord, if whatever you say, that's what we're gonna do. And then, but it's worked for us, so.
Yeah, the word works.
The word works,
yeah.
Of course. So yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe, follow. We're available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and then of course on YouTube you have the video versions. So thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Jackie with Wiebe Evangelism, and Peter and I want you to know how your seed is making an impact in people's lives, whether it's in the area of prisons and jails, street ministry, providing support to expecting moms in need, or books, or traveling ministry. One of the best ways that you can stay up to date with what we're doing in any of these areas, and really just stay in the know of what's going on around here, is by signing up for emails on our website, which is wiebeevangelism.com. We also want to give you the opportunity that if God is putting it in your heart to partner with us and help send us, you know, maybe you can't go yourself, and maybe you're not called to go, but you do want to send. You can also find all the giving options and information right there on the website as well. You know, we are so thankful for people like you that really, you just love other people so much that you want to be a part of them being reached, them being touched, being rescued by the love of God and by the power of His Word. And so we thank you, and we love you, and we are really looking forward to every good thing that God has just ahead for each one of us.